Hey there, football fans, and welcome back to another hard-hitting edition of Giants Insider, where we break down all the action from Big Blue's world in the NFL. I'm your host, and let me tell you, if you're a die-hard New York Giants supporter like so many out there in the Big Apple and beyond, today's story is going to hit you right in the gut. Picture this. It's a sunny Sunday afternoon in the Caesars Superdome down in New Orleans, and the Giants are rolling out with high hopes, looking to turn their season around against a Saints team that's been stumbling out of the gate. But folks, what started as a promising offensive explosion fizzled into a frustrating 26-14 defeat, dropping the Giants to a tough 1-4 record. How did it all go wrong? Well, buckle up, because we're diving deep into the three stats that sealed this loss, with plenty of analysis, history, and a look ahead to keep you fired up. After all, in the NFC East, it's never over till it's over. Just ask those rivals in Philly or Dallas. Let's start with the heart of the matter. That game recap that'll have you reliving every twist and turn. The Giants came out swinging, folks. I mean, their first two drives, pure magic. They punched in touchdowns on back-to-back possessions, establishing what looked like a brand new offensive identity under head coach Brian Daboll. Quarterback Jackson Dart, the young gun who's been thrust into the spotlight this 2025 season, was slinging it with confidence early on. Running back Cam Skattebo was pounding the rock, and wideout Darius Slayton was making plays at fans back at MetLife Stadium. Yeah, even though they were on the road, dreaming of playoff glory. It was 14-0 Giants, and the Saints, who many pegged as the weakest squad in the NFC for the first 4 weeks, looked shell-shocked. But how quickly things can flip in the NFL. It's like that old saying, football is a game of inches, but sometimes those inches turn into miles of mistakes. As the game wore on, the Giants transformed from a well-oiled machine into an error-prone outfit that couldn't hold on to ball or stay out of their own way. By the final whistle, New Orleans had pulled away 26-14, thanks to a barrage of field goals from kicker Blake Group and a back-breaking defensive touchdown. Now, don't get me wrong. There were flashes of brilliance. The Giants' defense, anchored by stars like Dexter Lawrence II in the middle and edge rushers Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, actually bottled up the Saints' run game to a measly 2.9 yards per carry. That's the kind of stout front seven play that reminds you of the Giants' glory days, when they were hoisting Lombardi trophies. But overall, it was a tale of self-inflicted wounds, and three key stats jumped out as the villains of the piece: turnovers, penalties, and third down inefficiency. These aren't just numbers, folks. They're the difference between a win that sparks a turnaround and a loss that piles on pressure in a division as cutthroat as the NFC East. All right, let's break it down stat by stat, starting with the big one, turnovers. Man, if there's one thing that's been plaguing the Giants like a bad habit they just can't shake, it's sloppy ball security. In this game, they coughed it up 5 times. 5? That's not just a stat. That's a recipe for disaster against any opponent, let alone one fighting for relevance like the Saints. Quarterback Jackson Dart, who's still finding his footing as a starter in this league. Remember, he's got that Mississippi pedigree from his college days at Ole Miss, where he threw for over 3,000 yards in his senior year. He fumbled once in the third quarter right on the Saints' 46-yard line. Boom! Group trots out and nails a field goal. Then there's running back Cam Skattebo, the Arizona State product, who's brought some grit to the backfield with his hard-nosed running style. But early in the fourth, inside the red zone no less, the ball gets poked out and it's returned 86 yards for a touchdown by the Saints defense. Ouch! That's the kind of gut punch that deflates a stadium full of fans. And don't forget wide receiver Darius Slayton, a veteran who's been with the Giants since 2019, and has those reliable hands that racked up over 700 yards last season. His fumble on the Saints' 35 with just over a minute left and a half led straight to another group field goal as time expired, flipping the lead to New Orleans for the first time. Add in 2 interceptions from Dart, one a desperate fourth down heave, the other partly on rookie wideout Bose Collins for cutting his route short, and you got 5 straight turnovers that turned a winnable game into a rout. Now, Dart only threw for 202 yards, and he struggled under pressure, but let's give the kid some slack. He's a rookie in a high-stakes role, stepping into the shoes of legends like Eli Manning, who led this franchise to 2 Super Bowl wins with that unflappable poise. Turnovers like these aren't just on the players. It's a coaching indictment, too. Brian Daboll, in his 4th year, has preached discipline since day one, but sloppy football is still synonymous with Giants ball. As a fan, it's frustrating. You want to see that fire translate to clean play. But hey, turnovers weren't the only culprit. Let's transition to penalties, because if turnovers are the low-hanging fruit, flags are the thorns that keep pricking this team. The Giants racked up 8 penalties for 95 yards in this one. That's a whopping amount that gifted the Saints field position and momentum. 5 on offense, and the defense chipped in with 65 yards worth, according to NFLpenalties.com. Cornerback Drew Phillips, who's been a bright spot with his coverage skills. He's got that speed from his Auburn days, where he was a shutdown guy in the SEC, but he's a flag magnet, folks. 8 penalties this season already, leading the team, including 1 decline. Then you got fellow corners like Deonte Banks, the Maryland alum who's shown flashes of elite potential, and wait, Paulson Adebo? Hold on, Adebo's actually with the Saints now after a trade. But in this game, the Giants secondary echoed his penalty-prone ways with pass interference calls that extended drives for quarterback Spencer Rattler. This isn't new for the Giants. Fans, you know the drill. We've been hearing about a lack of discipline for years, dating back to the post-Eli era, when the team struggled to rebuild. Remember 2021? They led the league in penalties under Joe Judge, and it cost them dearly. Daboll came in promising change, emphasizing accountability in training camp. But here we are in 2025, and the mistakes persist. It's infecting the whole roster, from the offensive line, which has been leaky, allowing pressure that forces Dart into bad decisions, to the defense that can't seem to play clean. One has to wonder, how much longer does Daboll have to turn this around? He's got a Super Bowl ring from his Buffalo days as offensive coordinator, but in New York, patience wears thin. And let's not forget the officiating crew led by Alan Eck. There was optimism they called fewer flags, but self-inflicted wounds don't care about trends. Now, moving on to the third stat that really stung, 3rd down conversions. This is where games are won and lost. Folks, those clutch moments that define a team's grip. The Saints, who have weaknesses all over their roster, including an offense that struggled to move the chains, actually converted 7 of 15 for 46%, their best mark of the season so far. Meanwhile, the Giants, a dismal 3 of 10. That's just not going to cut it. Coming off a dominant win against the Chargers last week, where the defense harassed Justin Herbert all day, you expected more from this front 7. Brian Burns, the pass rush specialist acquired in that big trade a couple years back, Dexter Lawrence too. The beast in the middle who's been a Pro Bowler multiple times and reminds you those dominant D-lines from the 2007 and 2011 Super Bowl teams. Abdul Carter, the Penn State rookie bringing fresh energy, in Kayvon Thibodeau, the Oregon Duck who's blossomed into a sack artist. They pressured Rattler on 55% of his dropbacks per next-gen stats, but 0 sacks? 0. Rattler, the young Saints QB out of South Carolina, threw for a season-high 225 yards because New Orleans kept converting. On the flip side, the Giants' offense couldn't get it going. Dart averaged just 5.1 yards per attempt, and with an undermanned receiver group. Injuries have hit hard this year. It was tough to set up manageable 3rd downs. Play calling comes into question here, too. Daboll schemes need more creativity. Maybe some misdirection plays or quick slants to exploit mismatches. Compare this to the Saints' approach. They exploited the Giants' secondary lapses and kept drives alive. Historically, the Giants have thrived on 3rd down defense. Think back to 2011, when they ranked top 10 in opponent conversion rate on route, beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. But in 2025, through 5 games, they're hovering around league average at best. And that's not championship caliber. Speaking of history, let's zoom out a bit and put this loss in context, because the New York Giants aren't just any team. They're a franchise with storied legacy in the NFL. Founded back in 1925 as one of the league's original teams, they've called New York home through thick and thin, from the Polo Grounds to Yankee Stadium to the Meadowlands, and now MetLife Stadium since 2010. That place rocks when the team's clicking, with over 80,000 fans packing in, waving those blue towels. But losses like this one echo tougher times, like the 1-4 start in 2023 that had everyone questioning the direction. Yet, remember, this is a team that shocked the world twice under Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning. Super Bowl 42 in 2008, and in the Patriots' perfect season with David Tyree's helmet catch, and Super Bowl 46 in 2012, with Manning's clutch throws to Mario Manningham. Eli, the two-time MVP, retired in 2020 after 16 seasons, leaving a void that's been hard to fill. Daniel Jones held the fort for a while, but injuries and inconsistency led to the transition to dart in this draft class. The defense, with Thibodeau's 12 sacks last year, can dominate. So what's next? Tune in for that Commanders game. Get your tickets, fire up the TV, and let's see Big Blue roar back. Because in New York, we don't quit, we fight. Thanks for joining me on Giants Insider. Stay passionate, stay blue. Until next time.